Welcome. Today, we're not just recounting a career, we're embarking on an intense exploration of an artistic life that spanned an astonishing 7 decades.
It really is astonishing.
We're looking at a figure who touched almost every corner of the performing arts landscape. She moved from the rigorous tradition of the classical stage to genuine global cinematic stardom.
And we are, of course, talking about Dame Maggie Smith.
Of course.
Our examination today is focused entirely on the sources detailing her life. The life of Dame Margaret Natalie Smith, who passed away on September 27th, 2024, at the age of 89.
And while the world remembers her, especially in her later decades, for that extraordinary wit,
Yes, that wit.
that wit was honed by decades of incredibly intense competitive work in the theater.
It really was. So our purpose here is to analyze the arc of this career. We want to focus on how she managed to transition that incredible stage presence into enduring international screen stardom.
And excelling in both.
In both dramatic and comedic roles, yes. It's a rare skill.
When you just lay out the sheer accumulation of her accomplishments, it's more than impressive. It really defines an era.
It does.
We're talking about 2 Academy Awards, 5 BAFTA Awards, 4 Emmy Awards, 3 Golden Globe Awards, and a Tony Award.
And that staggering collection of honors is significant for what it represents. It's mastery. Mastery across all 3 major acting mediums, the stage, film, and television.
Mm-hmm.
And crucially, these awards confirm her status as one of the very few performers in history to have achieved the coveted Triple Crown of acting.
So our study today is designed to trace that incredible journey. We'll start from her very first stage appearance at the Oxford Playhouse in 1952.
All the way up through her final recorded roles in the 2020s. We really want to understand the context and the technical skill behind each phase of her brilliance.
Okay, so let's begin by examining the foundations of her artistry. We'll cover those early stage battles, say, from 1934 to 1968. Maggie Smith, born Margaret Natalie Smith, came into the world on December 28, 1934, in Ilford, Essex.
Her origins provide some really crucial context, particularly that early move to Oxford.
Right.
Her mother, Margaret Hutton, was a Scottish secretary, while her father, Nathaniel Smith, was a public health pathologist. He held a position at the University of Oxford.
So the family relocates.
They relocated to Oxford when she was just 4 years old, and that really set the scene for her future artistic path.
And it was there, in Oxford, where she made that decisive pivot toward acting. She attended Oxford High School, but then at 16,
Just 16.
she made the choice to leave traditional schooling behind and dedicate herself completely to studying acting at the Oxford Playhouse. Her professional stage career officially launched in 1952. She was only 17.
Her debut was playing viola in a production of Shakespeare's Twelfth Night, and this was specifically under the auspices of the Oxford University Dramatic Society.
So she jumps right into the deep end with classical texts.
Immediately, this immersion in demanding texts right at the beginning. It just speaks volumes about her confidence in her direction.
And it wasn't long before she was in North America.
No, the late 1950s saw her make her professional debut on Broadway. That was in 1956, in a review called New Faces of 56. It gave her some brief exposure there, but her true foundational growth happened back in Britain.
And the sources point to a very specific moment that signaled her rising dominance on the British stage.
They do. That moment came in 1962. She won the first of what would become a record 6 career Best Actress Evening Standard Awards.
The first of 6? That's incredible.
It is. And this was for her commanding work in Peter Shaffer's twin productions, The Private Ear and The Public Eye.
So she won for 2 different roles at the same time.
Exactly. Winning an award for essentially 2 different roles simultaneously showed this unparalleled versatility, even so early in her career.
And the stellar stage recognition, well, it brought her into the orbit of the most formidable force in British theater at the time, Sir Laurence Olivier.
Precisely. In 1962, Olivier invited her to join his newly formed National Theatre Company, which operated out of the Old Vic.
She didn't just join, though.
Oh, no. She became a defining fixture of that company throughout the 1960s. She was performing alongside a generation of actors who would become legends themselves, people like Derek Jacobi and Michael Gambon.
And the sources define this era as creating one of the most famously intense professional dynamics in theatrical history. The rivalry with Olivier himself, what exactly was that relationship?
It was less a bitter animosity and more a competitive recognition of equal talent. Equal, though perhaps channeled differently.
Okay.
The critic Michael Coveney detailed this dynamic. He noted that the moment Olivier witnessed her stage command, he knew he had met his match.
Met his match. Wow.
What Olivier specifically recognized was that her exceptional instantaneous command of comedy, that lightning-fast timing and precision, was the exact mirror image of the speed required for profound tragedy.
So she could do both with the same velocity.
She was the only actor who could challenge him in terms of sheer theatrical velocity. Coveney described the atmosphere as an actual contest on stage. He said she was the only actor who had ever been quicker than Olivier himself.
And that professional intensity, fueled by ambition and just this massive talent, it's sometimes manifested in physical ways, particularly during the landmark 1964 production of Shakespeare's Othello.
This is a remarkable anecdote that illustrates the often volatile, demanding nature of that golden age of acting.
Sounds it.
The sources recount that during a performance of Othello, Olivier struck her across the face in character as Othello striking Desdemona with such force that it actually knocked her unconscious for a moment.
That's shocking.
It is, and she spoke about this specific detail years later, in 2015 and 2018. It underscores not just the physical commitment required, but the extreme pressure and the volatile dynamic between two seismic talents navigating a demanding classical text together.
So while she's enduring this crucible on stage, she was also successfully making that difficult transition to film. Her first major screen credit came in 1959 with the film Nowhere to Go, and it immediately garnered recognition.
Yes, that debut performance earned her the first of a remarkable career total of 18 BAFTA nominations. It's a testament to her inherent screen presence that she achieved that level of recognition right away. And significantly, her connection to the National Theater stage provided her early cinematic recognition.
The Othello film.
Exactly. The film adaptation of Othello in 1965, where she reprised her stage role as Desdemona opposite Olivier, earned her first Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress.
So the 60s saw her steadily building her film credits.
The balancing lighter comedies with more intense dramas, she was proving her versatility wasn't limited to one genre, even as she remained, principally focused on the stage.
Now, let's talk about the decade that truly defined her international star status, 1969 to 1979, the era of her first Oscar wins and the full expansion of her range.
And the centerpiece of this period is undoubtedly the prime of Miss Jean Brodie.
A defining role.
This 1969 film was the definitive leading role of that era for her. Her portrayal of the charismatic, unconventional, and ultimately dangerous Edinburgh schoolteacher. It secured her the Academy Award for Best Actress.
What's crucial here is a context, though. The role had already been played by two other major actresses.
A very important point. Vanessa Redgrave on the London stage, and Zoe Caldwell, who won the Tony for the New York run.
And yet, Smith's interpretation was singled out.
Universally singled out for its technical brilliance on film.
So how did she do that? How did she translate that ferocious stage power into a successful and different film performance?
Well, critics offered specific language for it. Dave Kerr of the Chicago Reader praised it as one of those technically stunning, emotionally distant performances that the British are so damn good at.
Technically stunning.
The technical skill here relates to her precision. Her delivery was surgical. She conveyed layers of manipulation and tragedy through sharp wit and restraint. She proved she understood how the camera captures subtlety, unlike the broader strokes sometimes needed for the stage.
Right. It's a different medium entirely.
Completely. Greg Farrar reinforced this view, calling her performance stirring and mesmerizing, and confirming its place as the film's high point. And this role naturally also earned her first BAFTA Film Award for Best Actress. It was a milestone.
But even with this new cinematic stardom, the sources show she never abandoned the stage. The 1970s theatrical career was absolutely flourishing.
Absolutely. It signaled a consistent devotion to the craft's roots. In 1970, she took on the complex, highly demanding title role in Ingmar Bergman's London production of Ibsen's Hedda Gabler.
And that secured her second Evening Standard Theater Award for Best Actress.
It did, showing that she continued to master the most challenging roles in the dramatic canon.
Then, mid-decade, she found major visibility on Broadway again. This time starring in Noel Coward's farce Private Lives in 1975, directed by the legendary Sir John Gielgud.
And this production led to her first Tony Award nomination.
The critics for Private Lives were key to understanding her versatility, weren't they?
They were. They didn't just focus on her cutting verbal wit, which was well known by then. They focused on her command of a physical comedy.
Which is a totally different skill set.
Totally. The New York Times critic, for example, delivered high praise by describing her body on stage as seemingly able to spin, lurch, missing yards at a time before another foot comes down.
Wow.
The result was moments of physical comedy that were explosively hilarious. This shows she wasn't just an actress of words and restraint. She was a master of farce, capable of that precise, total physical commitment required to generate belly laughs.
At the same time, starting in the mid-70s, she began an extensive multi-year engagement with classical theatre outside of London, specifically at the Stratford Shakespeare Festival in Ontario, Canada.
Yes, this seems like a very deliberate artistic choice to stay connected to Shakespearean rigor.
A massive commitment.
It was. It ran from 1976 through 1980. She tackled some of the largest and most challenging classical parts, demonstrating a hunger for continued artistic challenge even as her film career was peaking.
What roles did she take on?
She played Cleopatra in Antony and Cleopatra in 1976, Queen Elizabeth in Richard III, Titania and Hippolyta in A Midsummer Night's Dream, and Lady Macbeth in 1978.
That's a huge undertaking.
This period is essential because it shows an artist intentionally dedicating 4 years to the most difficult roles in the English language canon. It proves her commitment went far beyond just commercial pursuits.
And her cinematic output during this decade was also highly successful. She had 2 significant Oscar nominations, culminating in a truly unique achievement.
She received her 3rd Oscar nomination, this time for Best Actress, for playing the eccentric Augusta Bertram in George Cukor's Travels with My Aunt in 1972.
And she also took part in several ensemble films.
Yes, films that capitalized on her growing reputation for sharp-tongued delivery. These included The Locked Room Mystery Murder by Death in 1976, where Vincent Canby of the New York Times singled out her and David Niven as marvelous. And she played Miss Bowers in Death on the Nile in 1978.
And then the 1978 Academy Awards arrived with California Suite. This role led to a piece of trivia that is arguably one of the most remarkable accolades in cinematic history.
Indeed. She won the Best Supporting Actress Oscar for her portrayal of Diana Barry, a fictional British actress who was in Los Angeles for the Academy Awards, and she loses.
So she won an Oscar for playing an Oscar loser.
She is the only person in history to have won an Academy Award for portraying a fictional Oscar nominee who fails to win the award in the film.
That's an incredibly meta achievement.
It is. It captures the anxiety and the dark humor of Hollywood's awards season from an outsider's perspective, and it just demonstrated her ability to bring profound depth even to material written for pure comedy.
We mentioned earlier that actors already saw her as a legendary scene stealer. This Oscar win, portraying a self-aware actress, must have just amplified that reputation.
Oh, absolutely. And she closed out this incredibly prolific decade by returning to Broadway in 1979 for Tom Stoppard's play Night and Day. She played Ruth Carson, earning her a 2nd Tony nomination.
And even though the play itself received mixed reviews,
her individual performance was praised universally. Walter Kerr of the New York Times noted that while the play had its issues, Smith herself could not single-handedly turn Night into Day.
Which confirms that even if a project wasn't a hit, her individual drawing power and technical command were undeniable assets.
Exactly.
That brings us into part 3, spanning 1980 through 1999. This is the period when she became the established dame, gaining formal royal recognition and creating screen characters that would become truly iconic.
This era is marked by her elevation within the British honor system. She was first appointed Commander of the Order of the British Empire, the CBE, in 1970.
And that recognized her exceptional artistic contributions.
Yes. Then, 20 years later, in 1990, Queen Elizabeth II elevated her to Dame Commander, or DBE. These honors really track the trajectory of her career, recognizing her importance not just as an actress, but as a national cultural figure.
The 1980s were dominated by notable film roles, leading to a consecutive run of BAFTA success.
Her performance in the 1984 black comedy, A Private Function, earned her a 2nd Best Actress BAFTA Film Award for playing Joyce Chilvers.
This film also provides one of the most vivid anecdotes, illustrating the sometimes chaotic reality of filmmaking.
Yes. The sources detail a famously challenging production experience, specifically relating to her co-stars, 3 unpredictable live pigs, all named Betty.
3 pigs.
The producers had chosen 6-month-old female pigs, believing they would be manageable, but they were described as unpredictable and often quite dangerous.
I recall a detail about a scene in the kitchen.
Yes, a moment of genuine peril. The scene involves Smith being cornered by one of the unpredictable Bettys, requiring her to take swift action.
And?
The sources confirm that she was forced to vault over the back of it just to escape the animal. This detail, though it's comical in retrospect, it speaks to the dedication and physical fearlessness she brought to every set, regardless of the chaos or the dignity of the scene.
Shortly after that, she starred in the Merchant Ivory triumph that introduced her particular brand of witty, restrained Britishness to a new global art house audience.
A Room with a View in 1985.
A huge film.
Playing the highly repressed and ultimately frustrated chaperone Charlotte Bartlett, this film was a global phenomenon. It secured 8 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture.
And the Merchant Ivory style was perfectly suited to her talents.
It was. She excelled at portraying characters whose intense internal lives were constrained by Victorian and Edwardian manners. This performance earned her her 5th Oscar nomination, Best Supporting Actress, and she took home her 2nd Golden Globe and 3rd BAFTA for Best Actress.
So this film confirmed her status as the preeminent actress for portraying sophisticated British eccentricity and emotional depth.
Without a doubt.
But despite that global film recognition, the stage remained a personal priority. Her return to Broadway in 1990 provided one of her most satisfying personal victories, winning the Tony Award for Best Actress in a Play.
And that win was for the play Lidus and Lovage. The significance here cannot be overstated. The work was written specifically for her by Peter Shaffer,
The same playwright
who provided the work that secured her first Evening Standard Award almost 30 years prior.
So it was a custom-built vehicle for her.
Entirely. Yeah. Designed to maximize her unique theatrical gifts. Reviewing the performance, Frank Rich perfectly encapsulated the appeal. He said, "There is only one Maggie Smith, but audiences get at least 3 of her in Lidus and Lovage. And that has the shrewd sense to keep her glued to center stage."
An absolute affirmation of her singular stage drawing power.
It was.
We also see her simultaneously dominating British television during this decade. She frequently collaborated with the writer Alan Bennett.
Her nominations for BAFTA TV Awards for roles like Mrs. Silly in All for Love in '83, and notably Susan in A Bed Among the Lentils in '87.
Which was part of Bennett's famous Talking Heads monologues.
Yes. It just underscores her versatility. She could transition instantly from leading a major Oscar-nominated feature film to delivering an intimate, character-driven TV monologue that relied purely on vocal control and facial expression.
Then, the early 90s saw a surprising shift. She moved successfully into large-scale box office comedies aimed at a broader mass audience.
Indeed. This is when she became Granny Wendy in Steven Spielberg's 1991 blockbuster Hook.
Showing her appeal could cross generational lines.
And then came her highly memorable turn as Mother Superior in the hugely successful 1992 film Sister Act and its 1993 sequel.
I think everyone remembers that role.
In Sister Act, she perfectly balanced the role of the straight-laced religious figure against the chaos introduced by Whoopi Goldberg's character. She was showcasing her impeccable comedic timing to a new global generation of filmgoers.
By the mid to late 90s, she solidified her status as the preeminent classical stage actress of her era, with some incredibly complex, critically revered stage roles.
Her portrayal of Lady Bracknell in Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest in 1993 earned her a 4th Olivier Award nomination.
But the pinnacle of stage praise in this period came for her work in Edward Albee's challenging play, 3 Tall Women, in 1994.
For which she won a record 5th Evening Standard Theater Award for Best Actress.
The sources really zoom in on the technical genius required for that specific Albee performance. What made it so remarkable?
The role required her to embody a complex, aging character, transitioning between different states of mental awareness. Critics like Paul Taylor of The Independent noted that her performance was something that has to be seen to be believed.
What did he praise specifically?
He praised her ability to execute the nuanced physicalities of senility. Things like the sudden subsidings into wretched senile tears, the frustrated, dismissive flappings of her arm as her mind gropes impotently for a mislaid fact, and the subtle way she utilized comic cunning to mask her mental blankness.
So she managed to capture the often tragic reality of senility with aggression and sharpness.
Yes, avoiding caricature while maintaining theatrical command. It was a masterclass in psychological and physical acting.
And she closed out the 90s with yet another BAFTA success. Her 5th overall BAFTA Film Award, this time for Best Supporting Actress, for her role in the 1999 ensemble film Tea with Mussolini.
It just shows an actress who is consistently relevant and award-worthy across the decades.
Her dominance in the 90s was absolute.
Proving her longevity regardless of the medium or the role's size. Whether she was playing the Duchess of York in the fascist-themed 1995 film adaptation of Richard III opposite Ian McKellen, or playing the witty, alcoholic Claire in Albie's A Delicate Balance in 1997.
Which earned her a fifth Olivier nomination.
She was constantly challenging herself and receiving the highest critical praise.
We now move into Part 4, covering the years 2000 through 2024. This is the era where she achieved massive global recognition through two enormous franchises and cemented an astonishing late-career peak that surprised even industry insiders.
This period truly propelled her into a level of international iconography previously unseen in her career. The primary vehicle was, of course, the role of Professor Minerva McGonagall in the Harry Potter film series,
which spanned from 2001 to 2011.
She appeared in 7 of the 8 films, and the sources confirmed that this was a role requested specifically by the author herself, J.K. Rowling. That highlights the cultural anticipation for her involvement.
It's fascinating to get a glimpse into the production process of those massive blockbusters, especially given her background in intimate theater. She shared a great anecdote about working with Alan Rickman.
Yes, in 2016, she recounted this wonderful self-deprecating story. She explained that working with Rickman was a joy, but detailed their running joke about the sheer volume of filming dedicated to collecting reaction shots.
Reaction shots.
She recalled that after the main scene involving the child actors was complete, the camera would then turn around to capture their reactions, looks of amazement or sadness or things over and over.
I can imagine that gets repetitive.
She said they used to laugh because they figured they had reached number 200 and something of reaction shots and had effectively run out of knowing what to do with their faces.
It perfectly illustrates the contrast between the technical demands of a huge franchise film versus the continuous performance flow of a stage play.
Exactly.
And alongside this blockbuster success, she secured her 6th and final Oscar nomination for a film that returned her to high-end, auteur-driven ensemble work. Robert Altman's Gosford Park in 2001.
Playing the highly memorable and haughty Constance, Countess of Trentham, she was nominated for Best Supporting Actress alongside her co-star Helen Mirren.
And Gosford Park was immediately hailed by critics.
Oh yes. Roger Ebert gave it his highest rating, calling it a joyous and audacious achievement. This nomination confirms that even as she became Professor McGonagall, she was still actively seeking challenging, nuanced material directed by major cinematic voices.
Her recognition on television also hit a new peak shortly after this.
In 2003, she achieved her Triple Crown of Acting when she won her first Primetime Emmy Award. That was for lead actress in a limited series or movie for the HBO film My House in Umbria.
So that achievement came 40 years after her early-stage triumphs.
40 years. And throughout this decade, she continued to demonstrate dedication to the stage, notably touring Australia in a revival of Alan Bennett's Talking Heads in 2004, taking her acclaimed dramatic work directly to international audiences.
And then, the role that truly cemented her status as an unprecedented international icon late in life. Violet Crawley, the Dowager Countess of Grantham in the television series Downton Abbey.
From 2010 to 2015, this role became a global cultural phenomenon. It earned her massive newfound international fame, particularly in the U.S.
The Dowager Countess, with her cutting one-liners and perfect delivery, became iconic almost instantly.
The Emmy recognition was immense. She won 3 Primetime Emmy Awards for Outstanding Supporting Actress in this role, in addition to a Golden Globe and multiple Screen Actors Guild Awards.
And that unique structure of the role delivering wisdom and zingers with impeccable comedic timing, it required all the precise stage discipline she had honed over 6 decades.
Completely. The character transcended the show. It became a shorthand for sharp, elderly wit worldwide.
But even while Downton Abbey was running and she was dealing with this intense level of global visibility, she continued to pursue challenging film roles.
She appeared in highly successful ensemble films like The Best Exotic Marigold Hotel in 2012 and Dustin Hoffman's directorial debut, Quartet, also in 2012. Quartet earned her a 10th Golden Globe nomination.
It's just a steady stream of high-quality film work.
It demonstrated that critics and audiences alike still recognize her capacity to lead an ensemble feature film well into her 70s and 80s.
But the critical peak of the 2010s arrived in 2015 with The Lady in the Van, the film adaptation of Alan Bennett's play where she played Miss Mary Shepherd.
She received rapturous reviews for playing this challenging, complex role. A woman who lived in a decrepit van, the writer Alan Bennett's driveway for years.
And the praise was universal.
The Times praised her compelling performance, which earned her Golden Globe and BAFTA nominations. And this era also shines the spotlight on a fascinating personal characteristic: her profound aversion to celebrity and talk shows.
I find that detail particularly telling, given her global status.
It speaks volumes about her focus being purely on performance craft, not promotion. It was a genuine cultural event when, on October 30, 2015, she appeared on The Graham Norton Show.
Her first in how long?
It was her first appearance on a British talk show in a staggering 42 years.
32 years.
That immense gap highlights her unwavering commitment to privacy and her belief that the work itself should be the focus, not the personality behind it.
After all the film and television accolades and an 11-year absence from the stage, she made a truly remarkable return to the theater in 2019 at the age of 84.
This return was profound. In April 2019, she took on the one-woman play A German Life at the Bridge Theatre in London.
And the role was incredibly challenging.
Portraying Brunhilde Pomsel, the real-life secretary to Joseph Goebbels at the Nazi Ministry of Propaganda, reflecting on her life and complacency during the war. A one-woman show.
And critics universally hailed this performance as a career high point, even after 6 decades of work.
They did. Matt Wolf of the New York Times wrote that the performance represents a new high in a 6-decade career with no shortage of peaks, and that the audience knew immediately they were witnessing something special.
And she won a record 6th Best Actress Evening Standard Award for this role.
Think about that span. From her first win in 1962 to this final, intensely challenging one-woman performance in 2019. It demonstrates an artistic growth, relevance, and dedication to testing her craft that spanned 57 years.
Her final film roles included A Boy Called Christmas in 2021 and The Miracle Club in 2023.
A remarkable end to a remarkable career.
Let's dedicate this final part to reviewing her enduring legacy, the weight of her honors, and the personal notes that ground this monumental figure.
Well, the sheer breadth of her competitive achievement, anchored by that triple crown of acting, the Oscar, Emmy, and Tony, which she completed with the Emmy win in 2003, it just places her in a select, rarefied club of performers who have mastered all 3 domains.
And beyond the competitive awards, her consistent recognition from the British monarchy underscores her status as a national icon.
Following her CBE in 1970 and her elevation to Dame Commander in 1990, she received an even rarer and higher distinction. She was appointed member of the Order of the Companions of Honor, the CH, in 2014.
And at that time, she became only the 3rd actress ever to receive this specific honor.
Yes, following Sybil Thorndike and Judi Dench. It's an acknowledgement of outstanding achievement in public life at the highest possible level, reserved for individuals of whom the monarch feels they have received valuable service.
Shifting briefly to her personal life, the sources offer some poignant insights into her family and her private struggles. It reveals the human element behind that relentless professional schedule.
She was married twice, first to actor Robert Stevens from 1967 to 1975. They had 2 sons, Chris Larkin and Toby Stevens, both of whom have followed their parents into acting.
And then she married playwright Beverly Cross in 1975.
Yes, and they remained married until his death in 1998.
And following his death, she was remarkably candid about the difficulty of that loss, a rarity for such a private figure.
In 2013, she spoke openly. She shared that after his passing, it seems a bit pointless going on one's own and not having someone to share it with.
That's a powerful statement.
This small but significant detail provides a window into the private loneliness and vulnerability of a person celebrated and revered worldwide. It reminds us that behind the Dowager Countess's wit was a very real human experience of grief and solitude.
We must also acknowledge the serious health battles she faced, sometimes right in the middle of her most celebrated work.
She was diagnosed with Graves' disease in 1988, which required radiotherapy and optical surgery. Later, in 2007, she was diagnosed with breast cancer.
But she reportedly made a full recovery.
By 2009, yes. But these health challenges occurred precisely during a period of massive career output, including the filming of the Harry Potter series and the preparation for the launch of Downton Abbey.
Her ability to maintain that demanding professional pace while managing severe health issues is truly astonishing.
It really is.
And despite the overwhelming praise she received throughout her career, she maintained a famously modest view of her own image.
Yes. She told NPR in 2016 that she much preferred being considered a character actor as she aged, rather than a dish.
Which is amusing because a 1960s Broadway reviewer had in fact called her an undeniable dish.
It is. This self-assessment just confirms that her focus always remained firmly on performance, on the technical requirements of the role, and on longevity through talent rather than superficial attributes.
And her commitment to her roots extended into charitable endeavors, even late into her life.
She served as a dedicated patron of Glaucoma UK and, significantly, the Oxford Playhouse, the very stage where her career began.
Bringing it full circle.
Her commitment to supporting the industry, both financially and charitably, was consistent. It culminated in her participation in major fundraising efforts like the 2020 Conversation, for one night only, alongside contemporaries like Judi Dench, Ian McKellen, and Derek Jacobi.
Following her passing in September 2024, the tributes flooded in, solidifying her status as a cultural giant of the 20th and 21st centuries.
King Charles III described her simply and powerfully as a national treasure. Her Harry Potter co-star Daniel Radcliffe stated that the word legend is overused, but if it applies to anyone, then it applies to her.
And Emma Watson highlighted her personal integrity, calling her real, honest, funny, and self-honoring. But perhaps the most powerful comparison came from her contemporary, Helen Mirren, herself an acting icon.
Mirren provided powerful cultural context. She compared Smith's status to that of Queen Elizabeth II in terms of her presence in British life.
That's a huge statement.
Mirren said that Smith had been a part of my life since I was a student, and she was an icon even then, concluding that she was one of the greatest actresses of the past century. That level of sustained cultural comparison truly captures the scale of her presence in not just the acting world, but in British identity itself.
The unique societal reaction that followed her death also provided a powerful final tribute that connected back to her theatrical roots.
It was a rare and profound gesture. Theaters across both the West End of London and Broadway dimmed their lights to honor her memory.
A tradition reserved for the true greats of the stage.
This act signals the unique esteem she held, not merely in Hollywood or on television, but specifically within the global theatrical community, the community that was the cornerstone of her entire existence, stretching back to that first role in Twelfth Night in 1952.
Looking back at her monumental body of work, the journey is one of relentless artistic striving. What, in your view, is the single most compelling summary of her legacy for the listener?
It is the verticality and longevity of her artistic power. She successfully transitioned from the highly competitive stage environment of the National Theatre, enduring intense artistic demands like those with Olivier, to defining film roles that required precision and restraint, and then finally to television characters that secured her status as a global icon and a master of immediate wit.
So her legacy is one of unwavering dedication.
Proving that greatness is measured by both mastery of the technical craft and a sustained, dedicated relevance across every imaginable medium and generation.
That unwavering dedication and sustained excellence is perhaps best symbolized by that single remarkable data point we discussed earlier, her 6 Best Actress Evening Standard Awards.
It truly is the ultimate testament, winning the highest award for stage acting in London 6 times, spanning from her breakthrough performance in 1962 right through to her challenging solo stage triumph and A German Life in 2019.
That 57-year expanse.
That expanse doesn't just demonstrate consistency. It illustrates persistent artistic growth, reinvention, and critical relevance. That, more than any other single honor, defines the incomparable genius of Dame Maggie Smith.
We hope this analysis has provided you with a richer understanding of this monumental artistic life.
It was an unparalleled career that will continue to influence performers for decades to come.
Thanks for listening.